Okay, so we'll do 2 pictures. All right, so it looks like 7:02. Call this meeting to order. Okay, I need a motion for adoption of the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, we did the call to order. Pledge of Allegiance is next.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. We have Ms. Fisher, Matt Mordway, and myself, Mr. Gregoire, and so Brian are not present this evening. All right, now we'll go for adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Next would be awards and achievements.
Good evening, Vice President Bayer, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Weitenheimer, and special guests. We begin tonight with 3 Mountain Ridge High School seniors who were selected to perform at the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. This bowl features the nation's top high school senior football players and marching musicians. Students selected as one of the 125 U.S. Army All-American Marching Band members receive an all-expenses-paid trip to San Antonio, Texas, to work with the All-American Band staff and to march in the halftime performance of the All-American Bowl at the Alamo Dome on July 7th. Students must be nominated by their band director and submit an application. Selected this year: percussion player Ryan Ardell, a multi-year member and leader of the DVUSD Superintendent's Advisory Council and Band Council, who in his spare time enjoys singing, acting, and composing music on the piano. Bass player Megan Pallid, who has been the front ensemble section leader in the marching band for the past 2 years. She enjoys writing music and is an award-winning composer. And tuba sousaphone player Niall Zafar, who didn't start playing the tuba until his freshman year. The following year, he was selected to join the Phoenix Youth Symphony, and this year was named the Phoenix Youth Symphony's principal tuba player. Each student recorded an audition tape, and we have a brief clip. Congratulations to Mountain Ridge High School band members and U.S. Army All-American Marching Band members Ryan Ardelt, Megan Pallid, and Niall Zafar. We would also like to congratulate band director George Hattendorf, who has supported this event since its inception 10 years ago. Mountain Ridge has produced 17 All-Americans, more than any other school in the state. Congratulations, band director George Hattendorf. Congratulations. Former Supreme Court Justice and high school namesake Sandra Day O'Connor said, "We pay a price when we deprive children of the exposure to the values, principles, and education they need to make them good citizens." Tonight, we recognize two of our schools that have played a special role in helping our students learn about their rights, roles, and responsibilities as American citizens. Arizona's Excellence in Civic Engagement program recognizes and supports schools in their efforts of ensuring we have an educated and engaged citizenry. Boulder Creek and Sandra Day O'Connor High Schools were recently recognized for excellence in civic engagement. And tonight we recognize those schools as well as the teachers who have been instrumental in ensuring these important lessons are taught. Congratulations to the team at Boulder Creek High School for their 4th consecutive honor, teacher Kathy Pondy and principal Lauren Sheehan. And her teaching team. And we also congratulate the team at Sandra Day O'Connor High School for their 3rd consecutive honor, teacher Daryl Hudson and principal Dr. Lynn Miller.
I can unmute that. Is that someone's phone?
Anybody that wants to leave, now's the time to make a run for it here. Before we get into the really fun stuff. Okay, looks like we're all set to go here. Okay, board reports. Madam Ordway.
Well, we had a band exhibition that was very interesting, as we had the guest conductor, Dr. Michael Anderson, plus the rest of us that went. It was kind of cool. Those marching bands, boy, do they get you going. Then there's another band thing that was called Rumbling, and I'm going to get this right, Rumbling Drums at the Doghouse, correct? Okay, so that, I think there were 31 around schools. It was an ABOTA invitational, and all 5 of our high schools did have the opportunity to perform, and I think they all performed fabulously. There was a safety conference that covered too many things for me to go over. I don't know if Ms. Fisher's going to mention any of them, but it was packed with good things that we're doing and giving us a direction to continue the work that we're doing in the realm of safety. We've got parent-teacher conferences. Who could believe that that's already going on, right? Because I think we're going to skip Halloween and go straight to that winter. Not that the thermometer tells us that. So in between all that, there were a lot of campus visits, and I am proud to say that the students all in the classrooms that I've been in, whether I was volunteering or just going through a school tour, the students seem very engaged. I saw no one sitting there working on just a paper, so it was pretty neat to watch the things that we approve in action. Thank you.
Mrs. Fisher.
Well, first I'd like to welcome Dr. V back. I hope he had a nice vacation, because I know we work him quite a bit. I do want to thank our staff for that safety event. I wish the other board members could have attended the full day session like I did. The morning really gave us an idea of things that are happening within our district. It gave me a better scope of person versus facility safety, and I would really request that we kind of do a similar, obviously not a whole day thing, but add to a study session. Some of what happened in that morning session, I did kind of snag the folder off the table, since it was all administrators at our table. They didn't need it anyways, but so that we can share that with the board. It would be wonderful for them to take a look at the school safety protocol and the things that we're doing, but then we can also add a discussion of restorative justice and environment, which I think, and by environment I don't mean the outside environment, I mean personal environment. So that would be something I'd want to add. And Miss O'Brien, that morning, the reason she wasn't there, she was attending a different event, which was student-based funding. And I hope that when she returns, she's able to give us more information. She did give me a flash drive that had information about student-based funding. It's actually a very interesting concept where the dollars follow the kid. So if a student is funded at a poverty weight or a special needs weight, those funds actually follow them to the campus. Now, as I look through it, there would be some impact to, I think, how we would have to hire, because it's kind of changes the dynamics, but it is a really interesting concept. So I'd like to explore that, and I hope she gives us a greater report. I am looking forward to my son's first homecoming this weekend. I don't know if he'll have fun or not. Well, no, if there's music and there's a place for him to dance, he has fun. There's great things happening at Deer Valley High School, and I hear about them every day. Pajama Day on Monday and Superhero Day today, and God knows what's going to walk out my front door tomorrow. So I want to thank Ms. Crooks for the work she does at Deer Valley, and it's just a very fun Spirit Week. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. All right, that'll conclude board reports. Right now, we're going to move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. I want to attach a couple of names to a couple of the events that Ms. Fisher and Ms. Ordoy were talking to. I want to publicly thank Jean Copen for doing an amazing job with that safety conference. She does that with the support of Dr. Dan Corson, but Jean Copen was the force behind that, and I want to publicly thank her for that. And that terrific band exhibition doesn't happen without the leadership of David Duarte, 5 amazing high school principals, 5 amazing band directors at our high schools, and others. But there are faces behind every one of those fantastic events that happen in this district, and I want to call them out for that. So thank you guys very much, and that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So next we'll have item number C on the agenda. That'd be 6C, curriculum instruction and assessment.
Good evening, Vice President Baer, members of the board, Dr. Weitenheimer, and guests. In our report this evening, Kathy Borgeson, Manager of Academics and Assessment, and our resident technology expert, and I will share with you the input and feedback we gathered from stakeholders who participated in the DVUSD Technology Vision Committee. Now that we have reached a major milestone this fall with all of our high schools in full implementation of Tech-Rich, this committee came together to give input on our next steps in educational technology integration by sharing their thoughts on what they felt are important components, consideration, and trends to pay attention to. We are extremely grateful to the participants of the committee who graciously volunteered their time and honest input and feedback. The stakeholder groups represented on the committee included 5th through 12th grade students and parents, 7th through 12th grade teachers, a high school librarian, K-8 and high school administrators, and a classified staff representative. Representation from several district departments, including curriculum instruction and assessment, information services and technology, data analysis and organizational improvement, community relations, and special education. And several of our business partners and community members. Again, a very sincere thank you to all of these gracious participants.
Vice President Baer and Dr. Weitenheimer and guests. The committee met 4 times from May 2016 through September 2016. The charge of the group was to provide input on leadership and stakeholder involvement in technology integration, teaching and learning with technology, technology support, and ways to gauge success through evidence. As a prelude to each meeting, the committee members were asked to read a section of the National Educational Technology Plan, which is the major educational technology policy document for the United States. The 2016 plan provided committee members with information about the current state of educational technology, as well as the vision for technology in American classrooms. During the first session, the committee reviewed the Deer Valley Unified School District vision and mission and examined the vision for educational technology integration. An overview of how students are currently using technology to learn was shared. Brian Peterson from Apple Education inspired the group with a presentation about the possibilities that technology embedded in instruction can provide. Committee members were asked to provide input on what role they think technology should play in our district classrooms. They shared their thoughts in a technology format of their choice. Here are some of the comments our committee shared with us about the role of technology that it should play in our district classrooms.
Our second session focused on teaching and learning with technology. This extended session allowed our committee members time to experience learning with technology. The participants rotated through 3 sessions focused on STEM activities facilitated by our Apple Education partners, coding activities facilitated by our code.org committee member, and learning about the technology instructional pedagogical model we use in the district called SAMR, while they engaged in a near-pod lesson. Stakeholders provided input on the benefits of learning and teaching with technology. They looked at several technology trends in education and put the trends in rank order based upon where they thought the district should put the most focus. They also shared their thoughts on the primary advantages of technology in our schools and things we must keep in mind when engaging students with technology. This is the order of importance that the committee placed these technology trends. As you can see, the top 3 trends the committee felt the district should focus on are technology tools for building non-cognitive skills, open education resources, and project-based learning.
The third session was focused on supports for technology, including infrastructure, classroom environments, and accessibility. Jeff Anderson, Director of Information Systems and Technology, provided the committee with an overview of the district's current state of technology infrastructure. He enlightened the committee on many of the same topics that were provided in the Tech Rich report presented at the last governing board meeting. Participants discussed several elements of a robust tech infrastructure and ranked their thoughts about the order of importance for district focus. Committee members were asked to draw an ideal space for learning with technology. The components of the drawings were categorized and the data was shared with the committee. The most common items within the 19 drawings submitted were windows and natural light, curved or circular seating, a teacher desk or teacher workstation. The number beside each item listed is the number of committee members who included that component in their drawings. The pictures you see on the next few slides are actual drawings submitted by the committee members. Other common items were small group seating, centers or group work areas, smart boards, and large digital display screens. Additional items found on multiple drawings included whiteboards, books or libraries, workstations, and portable digital devices for student use. Slightly less common items were seating in a square formation, non-chair seating, multiple large display screens, and an outdoor space. A few people thought of using flexible furniture, multi-height seating, well-placed and multiple power outlets, and seating in rows. And there were some items that only one person in the group thought of, such as movable walls and tents. The committee discussed the challenge of finding the right balance between providing students with access to technology and providing security. Each stakeholder group met to determine where they thought the district should be in relation to access and security. The stakeholder groups were teachers, students, parents, administrators, and business and community partners. Each group set their dials to indicate where they thought the district should be, with the most restrictive access and most security to the left, and the least restrictive access and least security to the right. So, of the 6 areas that we asked for input from stakeholders regarding access and security, 2 areas had consensus among all 5 stakeholder groups. Fortunately, the district is currently aligned with our stakeholders' views on website and student email access. In the area of access to apps, it is interesting that the students had a more restrictive view than the parents, teachers, and administrators. Our business and community members felt that YouTube access should be more restricted than the other groups. In the area of posting content online, our parents had the most restrictive view, though all groups felt that students should be able to post content in some manner. All of the stakeholder groups were fairly close in their view of student educational use of social media, advocating for some form of controlled access.
The 4th and final session was dedicated to measuring the district's success in effective instructional technology integration. We talked with the committee about the trends in measuring student learning through the use of technology, with the move towards such things as technology-enhanced items, real-time feedback, and a wider array of accessibility features. A major reason the DVUSD change assessment systems, which is now School City, was to find a system that contained most of these items that you see listed. Next, we discussed measuring the impact of instructional technology. We asked participants to complete this sentence. I know DVUSD will have successfully integrated technology when the students, and responses were then categorized by the committee. The committee found that the responses fell into 4 areas: technology skills, problem-solving skills, community and global connections, and innovation. Committee members then brainstormed ways that these elements could be measured. Here is a list of measurements that the committee thought of to measure technology skills and student access to technology. Committee members came up with suggestions for how we might measure student problem-solving skills. There were many ideas for how the district could measure student and teacher interaction with the local and global communities. And several ideas were shared about how the district might measure student innovation. We wanted this committee to concentrate on the big picture of how technology might be utilized in our classrooms over the next 5 years and beyond. The Computer Science and Coding Committee is drilling down more specifically on how technology can be embedded to increase access to computer science, skill acquisition, and even more specifically with coding instruction. The big picture input gathered from our Technology Vision Committee will help our Computer Science and Coding Committee as they develop frameworks and curriculum sequence recommendations. As we look toward the future of instructional technology integration in DVUSD, we will be examining the stakeholder input gathered from the Technology Vision Committee to help guide our direction. We will continue to gather input from our stakeholder groups annually going forward to ensure that we are reflecting our community's desires and how we integrate technology. Our heartfelt thanks again go to the committee members for their time and thoughtful feedback. Please let us know if you have any questions that we can either answer now or provide you at another time. Thank you.
Any questions?
I just want to thank Dr. Galligan for the presentation. A lot of these we saw at Coding Academy, and they're very effective. So thank you for doing the work.
Good here. I do have one question here. Let me see if I can find the page. This one here, you know which one that is? Toward the beginning. There it was. I guess I feel it, the second one. Second, fourth, or fifth one in mine, but oh well. So, in this little box toward the bottom, it says technology in the classroom should be ubiquitous, comma, unlocked / minimal filtering. What exactly does that mean?
Vice President Baird, that was a comment from one of the groups, and I'm speculating that they felt that the current system of filtering is maybe stronger than they would like. But we do have a process that if a site is filtered that a teacher feels needs to be unblocked, they can request that it be unblocked.
Okay, so we are going to have controls on this so that students aren't going to be just able to go off God knows where to some website that they shouldn't be on, or you understand what I'm saying here?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Are we going to get input from parents on that issue in terms of what parents are comfortable with?
Yes, and some of those, the slides later on, you saw that we talked about access and security. So the slide that you're on currently was an early session, and as parents and the other stakeholder groups kind of wrestled with some of the information, we got to the point of talking about access and security. And as you can see, the parents did, and all the stakeholder groups did advocate for control over access and security for our students so we can maintain security.
It seems like there were other references in here that were similar to that, right? So I guess one of my concerns would be that we have adequate controls.
Due to E-rate, we actually have to have controls. Part of the controls, we have to have our filtering system. We also have to engage our students in digital citizenship lessons, which we call the SEPA lessons. So yes, we are absolutely follow the guidelines for making sure our students are safe.
I think it's important to remember these are, yeah, they're high school students or whatever, but these are still young, immature people. Okay? Young people that are immature, and they can make some bad decisions. And quite frankly, I would hate to ever see a news report where one of our students got into, let's say, an ISIS website or something of that nature and is becoming radicalized or something of that nature. That would be tragic beyond belief. So thank you for the report, but I think it's just real important that we have adequate controls on this, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
I have a question. Dr. Galligan, you're not done yet. I have a question. Would it be possible for you or your department to provide us in the Friday update with what the processes are to access programs on the internet?
Vice President Baer, Mrs. Ordway, we certainly can.
That would be
We'll have
awesome.
that
Thank
in
you.
there within the next 2 weeks. Thank you.
Okay, item 6D, fiscal and business services. Mr. Miglerino?
Vice President Baer, members of the board, Dr. Weidenheimer, we have a statutory requirement to provide information regarding our voter-approved initiatives, and it has to be done at a public meeting, so we elect to do that at a public board meeting, although it's not required that it be at a board meeting. So this report is going to look very similar to reports of the past, with the exception of, for this year, we no longer are reporting on the 2005 capital override election because we exhausted those funds at the end of the 2015 fiscal year, so the 2014-15 school year. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into this, starting with the 2008 bond authorization. This will be the final report for 2008, the 2008 bond authorization. We completed the expenditures in this particular fiscal year, and when I say this fiscal year, I mean the 2015-16 fiscal year. So all $148,159,000 were expended, and you'll see many of the projects were completed. This just graphically represents the information that was on the previous slide. And you can see very minimal expenses. We finished some of the work at Sonoran Foothills Elementary School, which was funded out of the 2008 bond, and we had some minor capital improvements that happened in the tail end of the 2014. The beginning of the 2015-16 school year, and these were those projects. So some flooring replacements at Sandra Day O'Connor High School and at Terramar, Constitution, and Paseo Hills, and then a roofing project that we had at Copper Creek. So again, very minimal expenditures out of the 2008 bond because we were just wrapping up that initiative. We also need to report on the 2013 bond authorization, and in this case, to date, we'd spent $34.7 million of the $158 million that was authorized in 2013. Here's what that looks like, representing that graphically. And for the 2015-16 year, we're reporting just under $20 million worth of expenditures. So as we show this report, you have the prior to the year that we're presenting in, I'll call the middle column, and the second from the right is the actual expenditures from the fiscal year that we're reporting. So the way you would read this is, under pupil transportation, we spent $794,000 the first year of the 2013 bond. We spent $772,000 in 2015-16, and there's going to be a like expense in that regard. We have $750,000 allocated each year for just school bus replacements. And in addition to that, we have some other components of that, some technology and whatnot. The only item that you're going to see completed on the 2013 bond activity, you'll see many of them are in process or planning. That's on the status column on the far right. The only completed project you'll see is the electronic marquees, and they were able to be completed during the 2015-16 year. So of the $19 million, the majority of that was spent on the energy projects, as well as the beginning efforts of the modernization project at Esperanza Elementary School. I'm not going to read all of these, but we have listed for you all of the bond projects, and they are numerous in terms of the building renewal projects. This is how we maintain our facilities, because we don't receive funding from other sources, either through the state funding formula. The district additional assistance has been cut by over 85%. Certainly, we've discussed in the past, the school facilities board has cut building renewal money. So our local taxpayers help support the needs to maintain our facilities to the standards that we have. And you can see the various projects that we've done. Some of them include our energy conservation initiatives that we have, replacement of units, as well as lighting retrofits and the such, to try and help reduce our energy cost and our footprint from using different utilities. I mentioned, again, the modernization project here at Esperanza. You'll also see that on future reports because we are still at that school, expected to complete that project in December of this year. And as I previously mentioned, bus replacements, but technology is also a big component of the bond. We've heard the tech-rich presentation the last meeting, and also the report that was just given by Dr. Galligan. All of those technology initiatives are being funded from the generosity of our voters that approved the bond. The final thing we need to report on is the M&O override, also approved by our voters. And so for the 2015-16 year, you'll see the $16.2 million was the 10% and the various categories that we had planned for 2017, which is also required in the statute. Bless you. It's an increase to the $24.75 million, and the increase, again, is a result of the voters approving our M&O override going from 10% to 15%, and you can see how that breaks down for the current year, 2016-17. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have regarding the report.
Questions? Go ahead, Mrs. Fisher.
If you can just flip back over to where you have the pupil transportation. Couple more. Right there. You have the 4.7 million in your budget. You have the prior, you have 794, and then you have 772. Explain that to me. In other words, did we in the bond expect to get the 4.7 and then we're spending it over time, and where are we at in that? And in the total of what we authorized in our bond, what's left?
I'm pulling up
In
another
transportation
report.
specific.
So we have the way that's broken down in the pamphlet is $4.5 million in replacement buses and or air conditioning the fleet. The first year, our pledge was to make sure that all general routes would be covered with an air-conditioned bus. So that was $4.5 million. There's an additional $200,000 of white fleet replacements, and so that breaks out to about $750,000 over the course of the 6 years of the bond.
Okay, because I know we just got some new buses. I had someone in transportation say how cool they were. We just got some new buses. But I guess my question, I should be more specific, is do we have more buses coming? Or do we need more buses? Where are we at? Because I know we had an aging fleet, and I know we had some of the concern with the doors and stuff. Is there anything left in the bond to continue to replace buses?
Certainly. So the balance there, so you have just under $1.5 million in buses because some of the proceeds went to some white fleet replacements. Okay. So there's $750,000 for the next 4 years, and that represents, it depends on what buses we purchase, but in addition to that, we did make a commitment out of the Prop 123 funds from fiscal year 16, so last year's Prop 123 funds, we allocated $1 million in buses, and that order has been placed. I don't believe those buses have been delivered as of yet, so we end up doing a delivery of buses annually out of the bond, and we supplemented that with additional purchases from the Prop 123 funds that went towards capital.
Okay, and then I think you told us before, but we addressed the CNG buses, or the ones that we were going to have to retrofit. We got rid of those, correct? Rather than retrofit them?
Vice President Baer, Ms. Fisher, yes, we still have a few of those buses, but we have made a determination that it would be too cost prohibitive to retrofit those buses. The tanks have expired or will expire on all of those buses during this year.
Okay, so then we're going to replace those with new buses? I'm just being hopeful.
We are replacing them with the funds that we have available.
Okay.
So there were, I believe, 22 of those buses, and a bus is costing, depending on what bus we're buying, about $130,000. So we're not able to replace all 22 of them at once, but we certainly are replacing them and using those as trade-ins as well on buses. And we're doing that with other part of the aging fleet that we no longer feel are viable or have outlived their useful life.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Great. I have a question. Mr. Miglerino, toward, I think it was right at the beginning of the 2013 bond summary there. I believe that was the second page. It went by rather quickly. There's a bar graph there. Okay. So the second item down, administration. What exactly does that entail?
Vice President Bear, so again, all of our facility maintenance and building renewal projects for all of our facilities, including the building that we're sitting in, are being funded from bond proceeds. So any support facility would be funded from these proceeds. So we specifically have items within administration. It's a total of $5.5 million, but includes some building renewal projects. That'd be paint, flooring, roof projects, things of that nature, as well as some technology and some energy conservation, replacement of mechanical systems and the like.
So are those fees at $5.5 million paid to construction managers?
No, not at all. The $5.5 million would be for projects, the improvement projects of the support facility existing buildings. So it's under the category of administration, not to be confused with administration. It'd probably be more accurately reported as non-school based projects. So not a school project funded from the bond as opposed to administration. So it's not the administration of the bond projects, it's administrative projects funded by the bond.
Well, that's clear as mud. Maybe for the next meeting, could you put together a report explaining exactly what all those expenses are, the total up to $5.5 million?
We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is 6E, Human Resources. Go ahead.
Good evening, Vice President Bear, Governing Board members, and Dr. Weitenheimer. Tonight I am pleased to present to you the October staffing update for our school year, our 16-17 school year. We are still maintaining 98.4% staffed at the campus level, and we are still maintaining 98% staffed certified district-wide. We do still have struggles filling these three areas in the area of math at the middle schools. In special education, we're having difficulty finding well-qualified candidates, and also in the area of nursing. What you don't see on this list that you did see in previous reports is early childhood. We are happy to report that we have filled our preschool vacancies and nearly all of our kindergarten vacancies. We only have one remaining on our K-6 campuses. At our K-6 campuses, at the K-3, you see the one kindergarten vacancy. We have no vacancies in grades 4 through 6. In special education, we did increase the number of vacancies we have here due to over-enrolled areas in special education, and then we also did have a resignation on a K-6 campus. And also in specialized staff, we have 4 vacancies, and that's been reduced down to 4. So you see a difference of FTE. We did decrease at the K-6 level down to 8.9 FTE over the last month. At the K-8 campuses, we have no vacancies in K through 3 areas. 4 through 6, we did add a 6th grade, so we've moved up to 3 vacancies. And as I reported to you earlier, in grades 7 and 8, so these are all at K-8 campuses. Our middle schools are fully staffed in the area of math. But at our K-8 campuses, we still have 3 different campuses that are struggling in finding a candidate for math. In special education, we've reduced that down to 4 vacancies, and in the area of specialized staff, we've reduced to 4, and those 4 represent art, band, art at a 0.2, band 1.0, and the remaining vacancies are both nurses. So we've reduced down to 13.2 FTE there. Our middle school has not changed over the last month. You'll still see that there are 4 total vacancies and 4 FTE, and all of those vacancies are covered with qualified substitutes. At our high schools, we have 2 positions still posted in the area of science, so not in math, but we have an earth science position and a biology position. No history or ELA vacancies. In special education, we have added 1 over the last month due to a resignation, and we do have 1 posting in the area of Spanish, and I read that I have a message from a principal who might have a lead on that Spanish vacancy. So we have moved up to 5 FTE at the high school level. The differences are comparison to last year. Right now, we have 31.1 FTE that is left to fill on our campuses. Last year, at this time, we had 25.5 FTE to fill, so you'll see that we have more vacancies this year than we did last year at this time. We found that you might be interested in what's coming up when it comes to recruitment. Fall recruitment is beginning. Yesterday, we attended the GCU job fair. And we found only 2 candidates that were viable to potentially fill vacancies starting in January. Both of those were in the area of science, and we will be sending those over to our principal who has the science vacancies. What we did find, though, that will be helpful to us in the future, and we are continuing to see this pattern, we have student teachers and interns who are showing up to these fairs, and we are signing them up. Because that's helpful, naturally, it is a pipeline for us. So if we can grab them early on to our district, then it is helpful to us. ASU is tomorrow, and then our DVUSD Student Teacher Fair is coming up December 13th of this year. This is the clientele. This is who we're targeting with that DVUSD Student Teacher Fair. We have 50 fall student teachers that are active right now out on our campuses. Additional student teachers, 15 full year. They are different. The ASU I Teach candidates do complete their student teaching over a cycle of a full year. Half of their student teaching is on the gen ed side, and half of the student teaching is on the special education side. So all of those candidates will graduate dually certified. Out of those 65 candidates, here's a little bit of demographic information for you. 32% of those candidates, or student teachers out on the field right now, are in our high schools. 28% of them are in the special education classrooms, and 40% of them are working at K-8 or K-6 campuses. So that will be very helpful to us coming up either next year, or if out of those 50 fall student teachers could fulfill any of the vacancies that we have starting in January. We also know that we have offered letters of intent or contracts to begin in January to 4 of the student teachers that are already out on the field. So we're definitely happy about that. And that concludes the staffing report for this month. We'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Looking at the personnel or the human resource report, I see that we're getting very resourceful. I noticed that we have high school teachers that are filling in areas at I think it's a 7-8 area. So that's awesome because we're doing that with a highly qualified teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps this could be their teacher when they graduate from or promote from 8th grade. So good job on that. And kudos to the teachers that are able to go down into the 7th and 8th grade. So thank you for that thought process.
I actually have two. The increase in FTE that we're trying to fill this year to last, is that because of a greater number of staffing needed?
Yes.
Okay. And then it was mentioned at a Live with Dr. V that there's an exploding, I believe, 4th grade class at Sunrise. Was that addressed, or did that drop, or where are we, you know, is that in this numbers? Did we,
You
did
will,
our student count hold and the bubble popped, or?
Vice President Bear, Ms. Fisher, you do not see that in this report. However, it was approved this week that they would receive aid time as they are one student over their in limited enrollment,
So we're gonna
their
add a class?
capacity.
So that'll be one more teacher that we need, right?
It is not one more teacher. They receive aid time in lieu of a teacher with one student over allocation.
So we still have exploding classrooms, and we're just adding an aid?
We have 2 classrooms that are at capacity and 1 classroom that is 1 student over capacity at that grade level.
That is really hard on our teachers. And just an aid, I know that we have one difficult student there that needs extra support, and that's wonderful. But having a class size that large on those teachers is, I would say, destructive to the education process. I would really hope we keep an eye on that, because those teachers cannot continue to have that kind of a class load, and those students can't possibly be learning in a class that large. So I just really would hope that we keep an eye on that and give us a report on that at a later date.
Okay. Now that we're done with that, we're going to go to number 7, old business, and there is no old business. We'll move on beyond that to 8, consent agenda, motion by exception.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8L.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None.
One hand.
Motion carries. Okay. Item number 9A, approve human resources changes. Do I have a motion?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the human resource changes.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. Item 9B, approve the e-school name change. Do I have a second?
Second. Oh,
Well,
did you want to make
got
the
a
motion?
motion.
Yeah, why don't you make the
Um,
motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, do I have a motion?
I recommend that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to consider and approve the e-school name to Deer Valley Online Learning Program.
Oh, second.
Okay, now we have a second. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Nope. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, and I have just received a text and I'm going to have to go. So that will leave 2 of you. So if you want to end the meeting, you can. But I just got a text from my daughter. I got to go. I have to go.
We can't do the preview item with just 2 of us, so we're going to have to call the meeting.
Just call the meeting.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
So you're going to, I move that we,
Adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
What a second. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Can we get those items on the next meeting, Kim? And James?